The name Oscar Piastri was supposed to represent McLaren's future, a long-term project, a carefully nurtured champion, and the driver who would lead the team into a new era. Just before the 2025 season began, McLaren locked him down with a contract until 2028, a move celebrated as one of the smartest decisions in the paddock. At the time, few could have predicted just how quickly that decision would turn from security into tension. Because what followed in 2025 wasn't just a championship fight, it was a psychological turning point. Piastri led the World Championship longer than any driver that season. He carried McLaren through its most dominant phase, built a 3-4 point lead, and stood on the brink of history. Yet by the time the dust settled, it was Lando Norris lifting the trophy. And now, as 2026 approaches, evidence suggests that Piastri is no longer blindly loyal. He has finally set a deadline for his future. And what's emerging now has fans asking a dangerous question. Is this McLaren's second betrayal of their own golden boy? Before we dive in, make sure to smash that like button and hit subscribe so you never miss out on any of our latest videos. The story of Oscar Piastri's future cannot be separated from what truly happened during the 25 Formula One season. On paper, it looks like a breakthrough year. 7 Grand Prix victories, long stretches leading the championship, and a McLaren resurgence that delivered another constructors' title. But beneath the statistics lies a far more complex and uncomfortable narrative, one that may ultimately define where Piastri is in 27. Piastri entered 2025 not as McLaren's undisputed number one, but as a rising force. Yet by the opening phase of the season, he had become the benchmark. He led the World Championship for 189 days, built commanding gaps over both Lando Norris and Max Verstappen, and looked increasingly comfortable under pressure. After 15 of the 24 races, he was 34 points clear of Norris and a staggering 104 points ahead of Verstappen. At that moment, the title seemed not only possible, but inevitable. Then came Monza. McLaren's decision to instruct Piastri to hand second place back to Norris at the Italian Grand Prix may go down as one of the most pivotal radio calls of the season. Publicly, it was framed as a strategic necessity. Privately, many believe it marked the beginning of Piastri's unraveling. Drivers speak often about momentum, confidence, and trust, and Monza appeared to fracture all three. From that weekend onward, Piastri's sharp edge dulled. His results became erratic, and the calm assurance that defined his early season began to fade. The situation deteriorated further in Austin. A sprint race collision between Piastri and Norris ended with McLaren placing the blame squarely on the Australian. Whether justified or not, the optics were damaging. For a driver who had carried the team for much of the year, being publicly singled out sent a powerful message, one that did not go unnoticed by fans or paddock insiders. Singapore only added fuel to the fire. When Norris clashed wheels during an aggressive overtake for P3, McLaren chose not to intervene decisively. To many observers, it felt like a continuation of a pattern. When margins were tight and tensions high, Piastri was the one expected to absorb the consequences. This context is critical to understanding why questions about Piastri's future have intensified. Despite signing a long-term contract until 2028 just before the 2025 season, that deal is believed to include a release clause allowing him to leave at the end of 2026. And crucially, Piastri has now decided when he will consider activating it. Reports suggest that Piastri and his manager, Mark Webber, will wait until the middle of the 2026 season before making any definitive decisions. This timing is deliberate. The 2026 regulations represent the biggest technical reset in modern F1 history. New power units, revised aerodynamics, and a complete shift in performance hierarchies. For a driver of Piastri's caliber, committing before seeing which teams master this new era would be reckless. McLaren understand the risk. Losing Piastri would be more than losing a driver. It would be losing the foundation of their long-term project. That is why the team is already assessing contingency plans, including interest in Ferrari's Charles Leclerc should the unthinkable happen. Ferrari, meanwhile, are watching closely. Fred Vasseur reportedly sees Piastri as a natural leader for the Scuderia's next chapter, particularly with uncertainty surrounding Lewis Hamilton's future beyond 2026. A direct seat swap with Leclerc or even a new pairing in red is no longer fantasy. It is a scenario being quietly discussed within the paddock. However, Ferrari's historical instability remains a concern for Piastri, and he wants proof that Maranello can finally adapt successfully to a regulation overhaul. Red Bull cannot be ruled out either. If Max Verstappen triggers his own release clause, available if he falls outside the top 2 in the standings, Piastri instantly becomes one of the most valuable assets on the grid. A Verstappen exit would reshape Formula One overnight. and Red Bull would not hesitate to pursue a driver capable of leading them into the new era. Publicly, McLaren CEO Zak Brown has done everything possible to project unity. His praise of Piastri has been emphatic, describing his 2025 campaign as unbelievable and highlighting his maturity, professionalism, and rapid evolution into a title challenger. Brown insists that McLaren always knew they had a star, but Formula One history teaches us a brutal lesson. Kind words do not erase strategic decisions. And for many fans, the lingering question remains unresolved. In 2025, Piastri gave everything for the team, sometimes at the expense of his own championship ambitions. He played the role that was asked of him, trusted the structure around him, and believed that loyalty would eventually be rewarded. Race after race, he put McLaren's objectives above his own, even when the balance of power inside the garage was clearly shifting. While others fought for individual glory, Piastri fought for the collective, absorbing strategic compromises, internal politics, and moments of silence that spoke louder than any radio message. When the season ended and it was Norris wearing the crown, it wasn't just a sporting result, it was a moment of realization. It forced Piastri to confront a truth every great driver eventually faces. Talent alone is never enough. In Formula One, belief from your team matters just as much as speed on the track. Now, as 2026 approaches, Piastri is no longer just racing rivals on the grid. He is racing time, leverage, and the fragile balance between loyalty and self-preservation. He is evaluating whether McLaren truly see him as the foundation of their future or merely as a convenient asset when circumstances demand sacrifice. The calm, obedient prodigy has evolved into a calculating contender, aware that careers in Formula One are defined by timing as much as performance. Every contract clause, every team decision, and every subtle shift in internal power now carries weight. This is no longer about proving his ability. The other leads to uncertainty, risk, and the possibility of rewriting his legacy under different colors. Both paths carry danger. Staying could mean reliving 2025 under a different disguise. Leaving could mean stepping into chaos, where promises are easy and outcomes are not. But history favors drivers who seize control of their narrative before it is written for them. So now the question hangs over Woking like a storm cloud. Was 2025 a necessary sacrifice that forged Piastri into a future champion, or was it the first chapter of McLaren's second betrayal of their own golden boy? Was it a lesson in patience, or a warning that patience is punished in modern Formula One? Every move McLaren makes in 2026 will be interpreted through that lens, and every silence will feel louder than words. And when the dust finally settles, will Piastri still be wearing papaya, leading McLaren into a new era built on clarity and commitment? Or will he be standing in Ferrari red, tasked with restoring glory to Maranello, or perhaps even in Red Bull colors, inheriting a legacy once defined by Verstappen himself? The answers will reshape not just one career, but the entire competitive landscape of the sport. Because when a driver of Piastri's caliber chooses his future, the grid does not stay the same. It shifts, it realigns, and it redefines what power truly looks like in Formula One. So the real question isn't just where Piastri will drive, it's what his choice will say about loyalty, ambition, and control in the modern era of Formula One. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.